Reading is difficult,
read?
guys.
Jesus.
Welcome to the Charlotte Buzz, where we drink beer from local breweries while telling stories about the neighborhoods they're from. I'm Chrissy, and this is Drew.
And this is episode 10.
What?
It's actually the 11th because of the
Bonus
All-Star
episode.
bonus episode. But the official episode 10.
Rock on.
So today we are drinking from Spirits Brewery. It will be the first time and also the last time we drink.
So on Saturday, we found out that it was going to be their last day open. And came as a surprise to us, apparently, per the things that we have read and heard. The locals weren't so surprised, or the regulars weren't so surprised. But for everybody else, yeah, it seemed to have happened pretty quick. And decided we needed to run out and snatch up as much beer as possible to try to get a good overview of what the brewery is and was and could potentially be. I'm not really sure where they're going in the future just yet, but got a chance to try just about every beer they had there and brought back 3 to discuss with y'all today. So, what do we got up first?
So the first one is Red Mambe. Apparently, your favorite of the 3 since you got a big one.
Well, as you may or may not say when you tell us about it, I believe Mambe is Swahili for mango. And
you likes that mango.
yeah, enough said there.
Just take that off.
Yeah.
So it is a...
Am I pouring this guy?
Sure. So it's a mango pale ale. The silver medal winner at the Beer Army Beer Wars in 2017. As she said, Mambe is Swahili for mango and gives it a tropical feel. No matter what time of year you drink it, you'll feel like you're in paradise. According to them, Centennial and Cascade hops all up in there. It looks carbonated.
It does.
I mean, looks like
that growler kept
looks like
it
a watered
bubbly,
down Coke. So a Pepsi.
Rude.
And that's a Carolina thing.
It is. I'm definitely a Pepsi girl, though.
I like Pepsi too, but I can definitely tell a difference.
Oh, you yes, totally can tell the difference.
That more so than most of the alikes.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, first of all, none of the 3 we have are IPAs. Through most of my research, there is a kind of standard IPA that 3 Spirits has, but they did not have it on tap then. So none of these are IPAs. So not exactly my favorite, but definitely a great spread. And yeah, so this mango guy.
It's 5.5%. I didn't say that.
It definitely has some fruity character. This is a lager, pale ale? What?
Pale ale. Yeah.
Pale ale.
It's an IPA without the I.
I mean, it kind of looks like a more carbonated, like Yingling or something. That's why I asked if it's a lager. I don't know really how to describe that. I can't deny the fruity.
You smell the mango.
Yeah. I mean, it just kind of tastes like fruit beer to me. I don't have a better descriptor.
It's pretty light though.
Yeah.
I can see the feel like you're in paradise type thing because it feels like a summer beer.
Yeah, I could definitely... It looks darker than a summer beer, but I definitely could see it being something that, you know, you go on vacation down to like Cancun or Bahamas or something and like just sitting there on the beach sipping on it. I could see that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Not bad, though.
Yeah. So...
I mean, it'll drink category.
Oh, yeah. It's
kind of, I don't know. It does have like a spritey
characteristic.
Yeah.
A quality. Yeah. It's really hard to describe.
Interesting.
But it is definitely potently fruity. But not like obnoxiously sweet.
Yeah, no.
It just has a very fruit
It smells a lot fruitier than it tastes. Mm-hmm. That thing hit me in the nose.
And you got a broken smeller.
I know.
So that's
that
impressive. Great. All right. So the second beer we have is Kind of Black.
It's 5.7%.
Ooh, if I can open it.
It is a dark lager with hints of chocolate, vanilla, and caramel. Some may get hints of cinnamon, they say.
Can you see why I picked these beers when the first one is mango and the second one said caramel?
Yeah. I mean, I get it.
Go ahead, you take a sip of that guy. I'll let you get the first sip on one. I think it's the way the growlers are that makes them so carbonated.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed when you open the other one, there's like plastic underneath the cap, so it seals it differently.
I wouldn't say I taste chocolate, vanilla, or caramel. Or it's the one they say some may get hints of cinnamon. I mean, that may be more so than...
I can taste the chocolate. Not, as overt as chocolate is. But I can taste the, it's almost like an aftertaste of chocolate. Like if you eat it and it's just whatever's, lingering in your mouth after you've finished eating chocolate. Mm-hmm. It's kind of that taste left on your tongue. This one's a lager?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't like that one as much.
Okay. So I guess full disclosure is I was the one who went and actually picked all of these up. And so I got a chance to, like I said, taste everything on the menu. And these are literally the first time Drew is tasting any of these. So.
Yeah, I don't.
There's a slight... So for some perspective on the way we're tasting them, I guess also. The third beer that we have is the Computer Blue.
It is 8.57%. They broke out 3 digits for that one. A Belgian Golden Strong Ale, dry hopped with citra and flavored with fresh blueberries that has been soaked in vodka.
I think that's where we got the triple digits from.
Yeah. I'm not very interested in the blueberries. Mm-hmm. But, I'll partake in anything that's been soaked in vodka. Gummy bears.
Jell-O.
Yeah. Watermelon.
Okay. It's definitely very blueberry-y.
Oh. Before I even taste that.
I'm sorry. But I feel like maybe texture-wise, this is the closest to an IPA that they've kind of had, or at least of our 3. Mm-hmm. So I think that's why I kind of like it more. But yes, it's very, very blueberry.
Blueberry forward. Mm-hmm. And we got it in the tiki cup.
I'm going to let him tell you what he thinks about the flavor, and then I'll explain the glasses. Woo! Told you it's a very blueberry forward.
Yeah.
That's okay. Fruit's not your thing.
I feel like the girl in Willy Wonka who floated away.
Well, that's why we got this big old round cup. It's turned into a blueberry.
If you take the blueberry away, it's not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's smooth.
And it's not bad with the blueberry. He just very much does not like fruit. And if you don't like fruit or blueberries, it's definitely not going to be your cup of tea because it is very blueberry forward.
You know, I don't mind blueberries in my pancakes. But that's about the only thing.
How about muffins?
I'm not a big muffin guy.
Yeah, I can see that.
Not a big muffin guy. But it's all right. I don't really like it because of that.
I mean, that's fair. All right, so
yeah, I got 1, 2, 3 in order that we tried them for me.
okay.
What say ye?
I think I want to put the blueberry at the top for me.
Okay.
I agree it's a little too much blueberry. Like, it's very blueberry. And so that is rough. But again, aside from the blueberry, it is probably the most similar to the type of beer that I like. So that I kind of dismiss the blueberry in favor of the rest of it.
And you usually like Citra hops, which it has.
Yeah. So I think that's what, like, the major components of that beer are more my style. So I like it best. I can deal with the overpowering blueberry for the sake of that. Probably the Mambe mango would be my second favorite. And then I think the black is my least, but I don't think any of them are bad. I think it just comes down to like my style preferences and not actual flavor or composition or any of that kind of stuff. So the reason we have 3 and the 3 glasses, and if you are watching on YouTube, you get to see our interesting style of glasses that we got going on here. Again, made it on 3 Spirits last day, so we tried to get a little bit of memorabilia before there was no chance to get it. And so asked for 2 pint glasses. They had 1 left, so we got the very last pint glass and then a little tiki glass guy that has the 3 Spirits logo on the front and then this crazy tiki man on the back. Again, if you're on the YouTube, check that out. So we've got some interesting memorabilia to take back from them. And then naturally, what is this? Drink beer from here?
Yes, just like your shirt.
Hey, matchies. But we decided to go with 3 because 3 Spirits is actually named after a Christmas carol with the ghosts of past, present, and future. And so we decided to do 3 beers to represent that, as well as we're going to kind of honor that name by talking about the past, present, and future of the craft brewery scene here in Charlotte.
So no specific neighborhood this time. But.
Yes. So it took me quite some time because I tried desperately to figure out exactly what neighborhood 3 Spirits was in, because it is kind of in this like no man's land, and ultimately discovered that it is in Montclair South.
Where's Montclair North?
There's a Montclair.
And it's south of that.
I think it's actually like southeast or southwest of Mount Montclair, but it's basically in Lower Loso, like it's just below Loso.
Loloso.
Loloso. But per Google Maps, the area in which is considered Montclair South is kind of this no man's land, kind of residential, kind of very chain restaurant and shops stuff. There's not a lot of great historical context there that I could find very easily. And so, yeah, we decided we're going to talk more about the overarching brewery scene than specifically that area for this time. But before we jump into the past, present, and future, I'm going to tell us a little bit about 3 Spirits in honor of their departure from the craft brewery scene. It's a sad day. So we've talked about them before. They opened in November of 2015, so they were 3 years old, just over 3 years old.
Okay.
And the short version is the owner, Taboo. Taboo. I'm already messing it up.
Taboo.
Yes. You're right. So he got into home brewing while he was in his residency as an ER doctor. And basically his advisor said, make sure you have a hobby that you can do because you're going to drive yourself nuts going through your residency and you're going to need something to just kind of be your escape from all the chaos as you're getting through. And he was up in a very cold northern state. And so they were like, so preferably something that you can do indoors would be helpful. And so he picked up homebrewing and, you know, he eventually got to a point where he could relate very much to the characters in A Christmas Carol and felt like he was down the path of needing to be visited by three spirits to see what he was doing with his life. And his wife is also an ER doctor. And so just their schedules were all over the place. And then they had their first child and just realized something kind of had to give. And so he quit his job and started prepping to run a brewery. So some fun facts about that. It was Charlotte's first Black-owned brewery and Charlotte's first Black brewer. The building he used to create textile dyes. And it had sort of an old English pub and a coffee house vibe with lots of nooks. There was actually this kind of like 6 foot maybe wall that kind of zigzagged through the building so that like you could see over it. You could see it was not any kind of actual wall, but it was just there so that you could have little nooks and crannies for tables and have a little kind of close section to hang out in. They wanted to make it, he was very much about breaking stereotypes. And so he often paid attention to demographics who were kind of consistent and active in the craft brew scene, but were often overlooked. So he started paying more attention to women, to some of the older crowd, to minorities, different aspects that, you know, he was seeing were actually very trending in the brewery scene. But, you know, often it was kind of seen as like this white guys hang out. And he was like, well, there's actually a lot more than just white guys hanging out there. So let's make it a more, not necessarily family-friendly place, but a less loud and sort of rowdy, even though the brewery scene in general isn't super loud and rowdy, but instead of having very loud live music and all that kind of stuff, it was let it be more of a comfort place, let it be more cozy, and they consider all of their beers to be more of like comfort beers.
Okay.
And I will say is when I did go in, at least a third of the crowd there were like what we would consider old people, like white hair,
interesting,
hanging out at the bar, like old couples. So it's just like, yeah, it's just a very interesting thing. And
how old is he?
I want to say he's in his 40s.
Okay.
I believe it was.
Yeah, I've seen.
I believe he was 43 when he opened the brewery. And so their logo is the Curmudgeon. And it is I had to look it up, a bad-tempered person, usually an old one. And that comes from A Christmas Carol as well. I keep wanting to say Three Stooges, which is
Scrooge.
so, yeah. Well, it's a mix between Scrooge and the Three Spirits. And so it just comes out as like Three Stooges in my brain. And I'm like, that is not what it is. So that's why I hesitate every time I say Christmas Carol. But that is the logo. And I wanted to specifically read this one thing. When you go into the brewery, there is the beer menu on a little paper. And on the back, they have the story of Three Spirits Brewery. So I'm going to read it to you. It's from Taboo and his wife, Jennifer. And I just thought, I mean, it was, what better way to honor Three Spirits through what he had to say about it.
Okay.
So, strange though the jump may seem, I am an MD turned brewer. I have made the life decision to stop doctoring and to follow a dream. Back when I began my residency in Indianapolis, my director advised that we all find a hobby to help us through the difficult days to come, preferably one we could do indoors during Midwestern winters. I had always wanted to learn home brewing and saw beer as a welcoming fringe benefit during stressful times. I loved it from the start. Making beer is like getting to be the mad scientist. You are only limited by your imagination. Over time, I got better at it, and people told me I should sell my beer. Surprisingly, my wife was on board, with one catch, that I got some type of formal education. Her research suggested that the Seibel Institute of Technology would be the best choice. Learning the craft of beer making from people who had spent years in the world's largest breweries, along with the support and camaraderie of a menagerie of international students, proved to be one of the best experiences of my life. Before long, my vision for Three Spirits Brewery began to take shape. I usually drank beers at home, since there was no craft beer scene in Charlotte at the time. As I traveled elsewhere, I became convinced that Charlotte was long overdue for its own craft beer renaissance. After testing my recipes on thirsty and willing participants, I had a good idea of the types of beers Charletians would like. I also wanted my brewery to have an environment worthy of the craft beer being served, a place that wasn't too loud and wouldn't make people feel too old to be there. I envisioned something similar to an upscale wine bar for beer lovers, but with coffee shop coziness. The name Three Spirits stems from my love of Dickens' A Christmas Carol and was my earlier career choice. Since Scrooge is such an interesting character to me, I adopted the image of a curmudgeon for our logo. Working swing shifts, weekends, and holidays as an emergency medicine. Reading is difficult, guys.
Jesus.
No, I cannot. Working swing shifts, weekends, and holidays in emergency medicine is one thing when you have no children. It's quite a different thing when you do. Scrooge did not see the importance of family in regards to lifelong happiness until almost the end. My previous profession was sending me down the same path. An unexpected illness with lingering health concerns ultimately sealed the deal to run down a new road. After years of scrimping and saving, and with the help of friends and family, we have finally accumulated enough financial backing to secure our business loan. The Three Spirits name and logo will be a constant reminder of our joyful pursuit to provide Charlotte with the best craft beer possible. We invite you to come join the new adult craft beer scene in Charlotte. Experience the fun but grown-up atmosphere, find a new favorite brew, and enjoy your new home away from home with us. Even if you're feeling a little bah humbug when you arrive, you'll be recharged when you leave. Taboo and Jennifer. And yeah, I'm not sure if their closing comes from the aforementioned illness in there. Not quite sure what that whole shtick is, and I'm not sure if it comes down to a financial burden. I mean, it could be a million things.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, they are officially out of the Charlotte brew scene now, and I think that's a sad day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really sad that we didn't get more of an opportunity to spend some time there and just get a chance to see it, which makes me want to make sure we get a chance to go out to all the other breweries much faster, just in case, and get to really experience them kind of in their heyday in case anything else happens. But I am very grateful that we got a chance to taste some of their beers and honor them in this way.
And we shall always have a growler.
Yes. I mean, you got to go all out when they're closing down. I did consider getting hats and t-shirts in the whole nine.
Goodness.
And I kept myself restrained because I knew you would just fuss at me for days.
Sheesh.
But like I said, we are going to continue to honor Three Spirits by formatting this podcast in the past, present, and future of the brewery scene. So I'm going to turn over the past to you. Bum, bum, bum.
So, yeah. I guess we can start the ghost of Charlotte beer's past all the way back to the colonial days.
Oh, wow. All right.
We're going deep.
All right, let's do it.
Even when Charlotte only had about 70 residents, the area was
I
full
wish you could see my face right now on the podcast. Wow.
The area was full of homebrewers. Apparently, this would hold true for everywhere, but safe drinking water was not that easy to come by. And brewing beer, ale, whatever they happen to call it, killed a lot of bacteria. So usually the women of the house brewed beer for the family to drink.
So the ladies were the brewers, and it was for your health.
Yep.
I'm on board with this.
Yeah, it sounds
great. Let's
like
re-implement that.
Yeah. There were also taverns. And there's one famous taverner that we have talked about before. Captain James Jack.
Hey, all right. He's a Pilsner now.
Yeah. So he was a taverner, brewer, and rode some things up to Philadelphia.
Hey, I know that neck of the woods.
So yeah, we're going to skip all the way to the 1880s now. Okay. So apparently there wasn't much to talk about, I think just because it was the norm.
Yeah.
You know, people just brewed it in their home. Taverns brewed their own stuff.
Yeah, there was no reason to really highlight it.
Yeah, there wasn't really a commercial beer scene.
That's fair.
Yeah. So now we have about several thousand people in Charlotte.
Nice little bump up.
Yeah, and you need more saloons by then. This is the 1880s, so cowboys and whatnot. You need a saloon. Charlotte had 17 saloons and a beer garden.
Hey.
And it's called a beer garden. Not real clear if they had an actual garden or if it was even an outdoor space. But it was more family friendly.
Oh, okay.
So saloons, not family friendly. Beer garden, family friendly. The beer garden was owned by F.C. Munzler. And clear bottles with Munzler's name and Charlotte, North Carolina on them are still traded by Breweriana collectors.
Ooh.
Breweriana was a new term for me. I guess it's somebody who collects old brewery stuff.
We could be that. Yeah. And it could start with 3 spirits, guys.
Wow. Too soon.
My bad. I'm not like wishing people out of business or anything. Just, they're our first collectibles. Carry on.
This is from the 1880s, though, and this is from 2019. So it may take a while.
Rude.
To be worth.
Don't diminish them.
Much. So I thought that was kind of cool. And clear bottles. You know, most of the stuff you see nowadays is amber. So that was 1880s. Early 1900s. You know how Charlotte tries to be ahead of the game. Everything they do, you know. We were the first to declare freedom. Yeah. We were also the first to get on board for Prohibition. A sad time in Charlotte history.
To support Prohibition.
Well, 1905, they voted to become a dry city. So no
Charlotte,
alcohol.
what are you doing?
No alcohol in Charlotte.
Yikes.
Like 15 years.
That is not my kind of era.
15 years prior to the 18th Amendment. Yeah. And apparently when they were, you know, talking about Prohibition, there was a coalition of sorts in Charlotte that gathered up all these documents and sent to the U.S. government that was like, look how good Prohibition is doing for us.
So Charlotte's the jerks.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's thanks to Charlotte that we now have speakeasies and moonshining and all the good stuff. So
yeah. You wouldn't have had that outlaw.
Right.
Any outlaw stores if it wasn't for Charlotte helping out.
I mean, what else are you going to do without the Popcorn Suttons of the world?
Yeah, so, you know, quite a dark time in our Charlotte history. We had to, you know, deal with Prohibition longer than most.
Yikes.
And post-Prohibition, though, there was a company that lasted from like the 30s to the 50s. Okay. Called the Atlantic Ice and Coal Company that brewed like 120,000 barrels a year.
See, I want to know, with our wonderful naming techniques that are so ridiculously literal, how does that happen?
Who knows? Yeah, I could go on and on about the 50s, 80s, 90s. Apparently there was quite a boom in the 80s, 90s of the brewery scene. None of which are still around. But if you want to learn more about all that, I have a book that you could go check out.
Hashtag book nerd.
It's called the Charlotte Beer. It's called Charlotte Beer: A History of Brewing in the Queen City.
Nice.
It's written by Daniel Hardis in 2013, and if you go on Twitter, he is Charlotte Beer.
Hey.
His website doesn't seem to be too active, but he's still active on Twitter. So
Nice.
shout out to Daniel.
We like history and we like beer. We should get him on the show.
And we'll probably get that book ourselves.
Yeah.
I wanted to dive deeper into that 90s, see what was going on then. I was pretty intrigued by that and why they didn't stick around.
Yeah, we'll definitely get an episode together about all that in the future.
I do have a few more recent past tidbits. It's like a few victories that has helped lead to the craft beer scene.
Okay.
2005, Pop the Cap was passed that allowed beers over 6% to be sold in the state.
Good, because that's all the ones that I like.
Yeah, we wouldn't have been able to have any dippas.
That's a sad day.
If not for that.
I mean, most of my IPAs, period, are over 6. Or like at 6.
Yeah, they had that. When I was in Texas, they had that same thing. My 2 years in Texas. There was like an issue with...
What's stupid?
They call them malt liquors if it's above a certain percentage.
Fair enough.
Also, Charlotte's breweries once were only allowed to be in areas that were zoned for industrial. And so you can see that caused a problem.
Yeah.
Salud definitely wouldn't be able to be where they're at.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of Noda. But they added some text for microbreweries that allowed them to be placed in other zoning areas.
Okay.
So it's not like Anheuser-Busch could come in and plop down right in the middle of
Mill Village.
Yeah. But microbreweries can do that.
Okay.
So
we get to move into the present now?
Yeah.
Hey-o. All right. So the Ghost of Brewery's present.
I said Charlotte Beer Prize, but whatever.
So depending on who you ask, or what data you look at, or what you consider Charlotte or Charlotte region or Charlotte area.
It's confusing.
Yeah. There's anywhere between 30 and 53 breweries.
Okay.
In the greater Charlotte area. And from that, there are two main entities / movements that I kind of want to talk about.
Cool.
The first comes from the Brewers Association.
Like national?
Yes.
Okay.
And this is where we see the independent craft. So the Brewers Association is the overall association, and then what we've seen come out since then is the Independent Craft Brewers Association, which is more of like a little seal, and you'll see it with an upside down beer bottle, and you'll see it on a lot of the local breweries.
Yeah.
So that seal was launched in June of 2017. And ultimately, the Brewers Association as a whole is dedicated to promoting and protecting small and independent craft brewers. And so that seal is an upside down bottle for how independent brewers are kind of flipping the brewery scene on its head. And by the end of 2018, over 4,000 breweries in the nation had adopted the seal, which is over 80% of the volume of craft brewed beer.
Okay.
And so that's just kind of one symbol to recognize what is a smaller independent brewery and trying to help kind of promote the little guy and clarify some of the confusion between maybe like where we had Anheuser-Busch purchase Wicked Weed. And so Wicked Weed you could still see and be like, oh, I want to grab this Pernicious because it's a small local brewery.
But they ain't.
Not really anymore. Like it was at one point, and so it's just trying
Sellouts.
I mean, Pernicious is one of my faves. It's really good, but yeah. So it's just trying to help communicate that to the public in an easier manner because there's a lot of unclarity in that process, and so that's a nationwide collective trying to promote and grow, and there's all kind of like hashtag campaigns to just help bring some awareness there.
Cool.
And in a very similar time frame, we also saw SIBA pop up, which is the Charlotte Independent Brewers Alliance. I am sorry I am boring you.
I just caught a yawn.
You need to drink some more of that beer then.
Yep.
So the Charlotte Independent Brewers Alliance launched in late 2017, so just a couple months later. And they had actually been informally meeting since at least 2014, and then decided to, and at that point it was just basically a bunch of local brewery owners / head brewers kind of meeting up to just share stories, discuss different techniques, share some equipment, like that kind of stuff. Just a really informal, like, group. But again, with the Anheuser-Busch purchasing Wicked Weed, that kind of prompted them into formalizing their group into something of a nonprofit with more of an impact in the local Charlotte community. So they exist to promote Charlotte beer and cider and the craft brewers who create it. And basically, to be a member of the Charlotte Independent Brewers Alliance, the majority of your beer must be brewed in greater Charlotte area. So either in Charlotte or in Gaston County, Lincoln County, Iredell County, Iredell. Sorry, I'm a Yankee. I don't know. I knew I was going to say that wrong too.
Yeah.
Iredell County, Cabarrus County, or Union County. And because of that, there has been a decent bit of confusion and kind of butting heads and this sort of rift in the Charlotte craft beer community where you've got several local breweries that are maybe a secondary location for breweries elsewhere. Catawba is a big one on this list. Who are maybe from a different market, but do feel at home here and part of this scene. And it's always been, because craft beer is kind of this local niche thing, it's always been just a really welcoming, open community. And so suddenly now there's this divide of the people who are in the crowd and not in. And so notably, Catawba's at the top of that list, but we also have Artisanal Brewing, Sierra Nevada, New Belgium, and Oscar Blues, who are all have a local presence, but the majority of their beer is brewed elsewhere. And because of that, it...
Hey, they want to be part of the alliance. They just step up their Charlotte game.
But yeah, so Catawba specifically had a big issue with it, and they said, the majority of our beer has been brewed 79 miles away for decades and have always considered Charlotte to be one of their primary markets, even though the actual brewing primarily takes place elsewhere. And so it caused a lot of issues. There's been a lot of conversation back and forth, and ultimately it's still... The entire idea behind SIBA is to keep the market local. And so every time that you purchase a beer in Charlotte that has been brewed in Charlotte, 90% on every dollar goes back into our own community. And so that's kind of where that line is it's not that those breweries are not part of the community, not part of the craft beer scene, not part of everything they're trying to do and accomplish as breweries. But for Charlotte specifically, they're not able to promote that money in the community the same way because it's giving jobs and money to a different city by not primarily being here. So the SEBA members, as of 2017, make up only 2% of the Charlotte beer market, which is really shocking to me because that seems so tiny, right? But I guess with all the bar scene and Uptown and all that kind of stuff, the majority of the beers there are the really, Bud Light, Heineken,
Studweiser,
Yingling, like there's
Miller,
of course, the Bud Night. But there's so many nationwide brands that it's hard because especially like we live in the craft beer scene if we're going to go out and drink. And so
it's 100% of us, like of our beer.
Yeah. I mean, it literally is. And so our kind of city view on it is so different than the reality of it. And so I was shocked to read that statistic. And so their idea is to try to increase that percentage that people drinking beer in Charlotte will gravitate toward Charlotte beers as opposed to national brands. And obviously something like Catawba, Oscar Blues, that kind of thing is preferable to, say, the Heineken, Budweiser, Coors, Miller, because it's still, at least Carolina-centric versus the whole country, but...
Or Belgium, where Heineken's from.
Yeah.
Or Holland. Are they the same thing?
Goodness. So...
Same
that's
area.
basically... It's in Europe. It's good.
Over there.
So that's basically the idea behind SEBA is even though there's this weird rifts and it caused some strife there in the beginning of their creation, it was never meant to exclude people from purchasing. It's just another little seal on the beer packaging that says, hey, this is a Charlotte local beer, and it's trying to just help promote the local community and to help, increase jobs and all that kind of stuff. Bring more money back into our own economy to help build up the area. And so that's what the whole idea was for, is for jobs, growth, and local sustainability. And there's a lot of things that I wanted to say about some like kind of future things. But again, that's future.
Yeah, that's the future. That's me.
The present left me very limited in what I was able to talk about. But I did want to talk about those two specific that kind of head into that past and future part because they were created 1.5, 2 years ago and are working towards things in the future. But they are currently active. They're currently attempting to have a big impact on the now and the future. And the SEBA mark, I meant to say this earlier, it looks like a wax seal that was like pressed, and I believe it just says CLT in the middle. But so we've got the upside down beer bottle for the Independent Craft Brewers Association, which is the nationwide version, and then the Charlotte version is the kind of red wax stamp.
Yeah. Well, if I don't talk about some of the things you wanted to talk about in future, you can add to it.
Oh, okay.
I'll allow it.
Why, thank you. You're so kind.
I know.
I'm going to stick to my blueberry juice over here.
Yeah, do that. Drink it all. So, I guess we'll talk about the ghost of Charlotte Beer's future now. I didn't get to speak with him, so I don't really know the future.
What?
But I
am super disappointed in you. How dare you not know the future?
I know. I can take an educated guess. Air quotes.
All right, what do you got?
So, first of all, I want to say that breweries are just like any other business.
What?
And, it's about cash flow and growth.
It starts with a passion, but ultimately, once you decide to actually make money on it, it's a business.
Yeah. So, it is possible that more breweries could shut down, like Three Spirits. But I don't think that's because Charlotte is running out of beer drinkers. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you look around, there's apartment complexes going up down every road.
It's really, bringing in all the transplants like myself and converting them to be craft beer drinkers like you did with me.
Yeah.
And getting the SEBA Alliance to convert them specifically to Charlotte beers.
Yeah, but we are going to continue to see new breweries.
Yeah.
It's just, can they bring something different to the table?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's going to be the trick. So I don't think in the future it's going to really stop.
Yeah.
It's just going to have to be different, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair. Because, I mean, I totally just blanked. Asheville.
Yeah.
I mean, we like to think that Charlotte, I mean, I've read so many articles about like, oh, is the bubble going to burst? And, you know, Charlotte's got too many breweries per capita or whatever. But
we have
Asheville has so many more, and they're still doing just fine.
And they have so fewer people.
Yeah.
They have less people.
Yeah.
Than Charlotte does.
I think we'll be just fine. Yeah. Especially, they say, like, new people move in, like, a new person moves in every, like, 1.5 seconds or something. Yeah.
It's not oversaturated.
Yeah, we'll be fine.
I think one thing that we are going to see, and we're going to see more of because we're already seeing it now, is some of the established breweries opening up more locations.
Yes.
So,
I don't disagree.
You got Legion. That's got you. South Park that just opened. Mm-hmm. Heist got their
North End.
Noda's gonna see Wooden Robot.
Yep. Soon.
They're planning on opening something in Noda, and then there's even talks of Sycamore looking for a second location.
Hey.
So I think we'll keep seeing that.
Yeah.
And we have legislation. Mm-hmm. In the North Carolina General Assembly now, called Senate Bill 246.
Oh, okay. 246.
Titled the Craft Bar Distribution and Modernization Act.
Yes. SB 246 for sure.
Yeah. It's going to help small and mid-sized breweries with distribution and doubles the current 25,000 barrel limit to 50,000 barrels.
Get it? Is this North Carolina Senate or federal Senate?
North Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah. So just in the state.
Okay. I mean, they both work for me. Just curious.
I wouldn't see why it wouldn't pass, though, because the North Carolina Craft Brewers Guild says that craft beer has an annual economic impact of $1.2 billion, and it counts for more than 10,000 jobs.
Mm-hmm. And if SEBA has their way...
Yeah.
They're going to bump that up every day.
Yeah, so I mean, there may be some negative impacts to the bill along the distribution side. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure how all that works. It's pretty confusing. We're
not brewers or brewery owners. Shocker. So.
Yeah, I can link
limited understanding
the bill if you want to read it in its entirety.
If you are legally minded and able to work your way through that.
Or if you know about distribution, because a lot of it is about the distribution
like the jargon
laws.
Of it,
Yeah, because there's like laws that they can't, like they have to use a distributor, and distributors don't go to small. I don't know. There's like there's a lot of things going on. Mm-hmm. So if you want to check that out, you can. So of course I don't know what the future holds for us.
I'm still disappointed.
But I do see, the breweries having a larger impact thanks to this bill and their growth and SEBA and all that.
I found it really ironic too because you pointed this out earlier and I didn't even realize, but my drink beer from here shirt talking about SEBA. Bam. Serendipity, man.
And the glass that we're using.
Hey. We're on top of it.
Yeah. But we have more breweries coming soon.
Mm-hmm.
There's
plenty.
There's lists all over the place. We're not going to name them off.
Yeah.
But the bubble has not burst yet.
Nope.
Nor do I see it happening anytime soon.
Mm-mm.
But the future is looking pretty swell.
Hey, you.
I believe.
Pretty. It's going to be a pretty hoppy time.
Oh, God.
Dad jokes for life, guys. I'll get you every time. So that's what we've got for this week. We want to say a big thank you to Three Spirits for all that they've done for the community. Sad to see you go. You definitely broke stereotypes and burst some glass ceilings for different underrepresented communities. And we're sad to see you go, but we're very grateful for a chance to highlight you here and taste your great product. And not related to Three Spirits, if you are going to be around town this weekend, it looks like there may be quite a party going on at Legion in Plaza Midwood.
For what?
As a certain golden growler is presented to the 2019 Buzz Brackets Charlotte's Best Brewery winner.
What?
2019.
What?
But really, it looks like there's going to be a party, some raffles and prizes and all kinds of fun stuff going on at Legion this weekend. So if you're around town on Saturday, go check it out and maybe you'll get a chance to see us and say hey, see the growler, and just hang out. Maybe come tell us how much we suck doing podcasts or tell us where you want us to go next.
Yeah.
Any of the things. But until then, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and follow. Help us out. Get a little more viewing and listening opportunities so we can grow a little bit and get a chance to make a better product for y'all.
Tell your friends, because, I mean, if they don't like beer, they shouldn't be your friends.
And if you're drinking alone, that's called alcoholism.
I mean, we don't want to shame anybody.
So come drink with us instead.
Just while you drink, listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
That'll count.
Yeah, that definitely counts. That's definitely fair.
Counted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You win then. But it's been great. Hopefully we'll see y'all on Saturday at Legion. And if not, we'll be in your ears next week, Thursday.
Check you later.
Bye.